Hello everyone, it's me, Rodimus2099. So, if you don't know, for the last 3 or so days, I've been sick. So, no videos because my throat hurt, it sounded bad, I did not sound well, and I just couldn't make videos, okay? But, I want to announce something new that will be going on every Friday. Every Friday. I will post a new movie review. This movie could be a brand new one, but most of them will be from a while ago. So I want to review something that I don't think enough people have really watched. I mean, I hate to sort of just like judge your generation, but I don't think enough of you have watched this movie. And if you haven't, I definitely suggest getting up on it. So, for my movie reviews, always take notes. And that's hard to do in a live theater, in like a theater, to take notes. But definitely when you're in a quiet, calm environment, you can take notes a lot easier. So, today I'm talking about The Truman Show. If you don't know that movie, well, that's just terrible for you. So, the release date was 1998. My bad. 1998. And at the time, it sort of felt like sci-fi, even though in this age, I feel that it could happen. The director is Peter Weir, I think. And then the star, of course, is the movie. The star of the movie is Jim Carrey playing Truman. And there's many other characters. There is like the creator slash forgot his name. But we'll talk about that when we get to Act 3. So we're going to start off at Act 1, move our way to Act 2. I'll talk about my favorite parts and my kind of least favorite parts about it. So in Act 1, the big kind of opening scene, we get a lot of nice shots. You probably have seen the trailer where he goes, "Now if I don't see you tomorrow, good morning, good evening, and good night." And that's always sort of something that people say. It's a very kind of famous quote. It's like this quote, and they're always sort of like referencing it throughout. But we see that a light falls out of the sky. And what's so funny is just immediately when he gets in the car, they say parts of a spaceship has been falling off. How crazy! I think that is one of the best scenes in the movie. You're like, how coincidental. But then if you think about it, like, have you ever been talking about a movie or something, and then you get like an ad or notification that they're coming out with like a sequel to it? That's always very weird. And there's a lot of fun shots in the first act where there's sort of like camera shots, like necklace ones. And in the first act, you see some of the best stuff ever, which is basically ad reads. There was this scene, and she's like, I mean, look at this. It can dice, chop, cut, and even more. It's so fun. And then she sort of like shows it really like smiling. And you're like, that's a product placement. And you're like, how smart did this movie do that? And I don't think that all of the products were real, so I definitely think it works better. Like when, gonna compare it to another movie, Jack and Jill, when Adam Sandler, if you don't know who he is, look him up. He played a sort of marketer, so he was always around products that there was an ad for. And so that was like an easy way to put in an ad, but it's a lazy way. It's not like something kind of fun or creative. And I think that this one was more creative, and there's definitely shots where like that they're doing an ad read. And I definitely do like there's this other ad read where he's like holding up a beer and he's drinking and goes, "That's a real beer." It was, of course, Truman's friend Marlon. Now, it sort of gets set up. There's a bunch of scenes where you see him about to go on a dock and he's scared of the water because he was in a boat and his father fell off the boat. Now, in real life, the father did not die or anything, but to Truman, he did. And there's some scenes where you're like, my God, that's just so cool. Where there's parts where when he's with the girlfriend, Lauren, that I will cover in Act 2. He's always talking about moving to Fiji. There's so much stuff in it that you're like, wow, that's so weird. But that's all the good. What about the bad? I definitely don't think that there's some bad parts in it. There's definitely some parts I wish that really weren't in it. Um, I definitely think that there was parts where like you would see where the cars would like stop for him. Like that's less like everyone is doing this for me. It's more like that's weird. And definitely when the radio sort of goes on him, definitely think that was something that maybe shouldn't or wouldn't have happened, but I'm fine with it. Definitely don't like the idea that they're broadcasting him 24/7. Because, I mean, he's sleeping most of the time. And some people don't even watch him while he's sleeping. I find that so funny. Just like, why broadcast it if no one will watch it? If definitely this were to happen, it would. I think if this were to happen in real life, like, let's say that someone was accidentally recording Jake Paul for his life, or just a year. How about a year? They would most likely whittle it down to the best 10 or 12 minutes, I feel. But that's my personal opinion. Moving on to my second page of notes, I have 4 pages of notes. On to Act 2. So, Act 2, there's a lot of part where you see him just sort of upset with the life that he's meant to live. There's this girl, Lauren. He sees her at his college campus when he's about to go into like some sort of thing, and he's like, "Who's that chick?" And he's like staring at her, but the creator doesn't want him to date her, and he told her that she's not allowed to talk to him. Every time that he sees her, she's taken away. Every time that he doesn't even know her name, and she's not even supposed to give him her name. And I like that. And there's this one scene in particular where they go through a photo album, and they're like, "It's the happiest days of our life." And Truman, Jim Carrey, shakes his head. He's like, "No, it wasn't. He didn't like it because he's made to live this way instead of just having a sort of simple him choosing his decision in life." And I definitely like that. I definitely feel that if this were to happen and all his friends like were actors, they'd get actors that could handle it. Like there's a couple scenes where she's like, "I can't handle it. It's just unprofessional." And you're like, but I'm just like, wait. Just like she thinks that this is unprofessional, pretending to be his wife, and it's not really even an acting job. Like maybe there's good pay. Maybe you get like $17,000 a day or something. You get a lot of money, but really it's a bad job if you want to be an actor. Just kind of thinking about it, like come on. I definitely like how nice they all are to Truman, even though I definitely feel that maybe they would have had a couple people be really mean to him and be upset with him and be like, "Watch it, bub." I think that would have been a little better to sprinkle in, but of course they don't have to. I definitely think that this film, again, a lot of Jim Carrey's work is all ahead of its times. I'm gonna cover a movie probably next week, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It is The Cable Guy, and I'll explain why I love it so much. But it's a fantastic movie. So, sort of wrapping up in Act 2, because there's this one scene that you need to see. I don't want to spoil it. It's with Christoph, who is the creator of the show. And in this movie, sort of just relating it to something, he sort of plays the god. And what's funny is they never see each other. But he feels like his dad, like he rubs Truman's nose while he's sleeping. Rubs a video nose. And he's like, sort of like making sure that everything's good for him. He takes away the girl because he feels that it would be bad for her, bad for him. And he's sort of trying to do somewhat nice things, somewhat. And moving into Act 3, there's this beautiful scene where you're sort of like, wow, that's just a smart way to have him escape. But in it, Jim Carrey runs away. He runs away, he flees. And he goes onto a boat, now knowing that his father is saved, and that he didn't cause his death. And that's really like, sort of because they were trying to keep him off the water. Because if you go too far in the water, which isn't that probably far, it would just be like a little wingspan, you end up at the end of it. And all of this, it isn't they built a city by the water. No, they built it. It's all like a fake home. It's actually like a dome, and then there's inside it, there's exits and stuff. And they control the weather, they control everything. And it's really like, wow, how much is your world being controlled? Speaking of weather, we're having some flash floods or flash rains right now. So crazy. I hate the weather because of pollution. I'd love to talk about it, but no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about climate change. But my God, it's really raining. And I mean really raining. But anyway, moving away. That was some loud crackling thunder. But what we see Truman sailing, and he's actually having a fun time. He's smiling, and they're sort of trying to stop him. They're creating blockades, and the ending. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop right here. Stop. Go watch the movie, and you can come back. You can come back anytime. But if I spoil the movie for you, I feel bad. But of course, if you're like, I don't really want to watch this movie. It sounds boring. Just from the get-go of someone's life being fully controlled. And I get it, when I was a kid and this came out, I was like, that sounds boring, I don't want to watch that. But if you're definitely older, watch it. It's enjoyable. But, getting into the ending, where I overanalyze stuff. So, overanalyzing mode engaged. So, talking about the final scene. Now, we've always had this feeling where, like, the creators just sort of... I hate to tie this back to religion, I do hate it, but he's sort of playing a god role, where he's controlling everything. He's controlling his life, he's controlling his actions, his friends speak, how his friends talk to him, how his friends treat him, all of this. And you're sort of like, man, that's a little weird to... Why would... He shouldn't be controlling his life. I definitely agree with that. I don't think he should be controlled either, but again, and you sort of are seeing like his relation. He feels like Christoph kind of feels like he is his father, that he is Truman's father, that he is Truman's inspiration, that he is Truman's father figure, that he is his puppeteer. But really, we just see him as sort of the bad guy. The guy who's trying to stop him from having true love. The guy who's trying to prevent him from leaving this simulation. Trying to do all this stuff that's really bad. And you're sort of just like, wow, that's definitely weird of this guy to do that. Definitely, why would he do something that... Weird. Why would he do something like that? But I definitely do like that. I definitely do like that. I like that tone and talk of the whole, like, Christoph is talking down to him. He's like, I want to see him. And so he gets a tablet, and it's just like, wait, why aren't you going to, like, let's say the exit sign and visiting him there? Because you're like, oh, he's just doing this for the money. So I think that's definitely a valid point, that he isn't his father. I definitely like how it ended. A lot of people think it's a bad ending. It just ends abruptly. It ends with him saying his final words, giving a bow, and then walking off set and leaving. And you're sort of just like, what? Did he get the girl? Did he meet his actual parents or anything? I think that's a good stopping place, because it's the end of the Truman Show. The rest is just Truman's life beginning. Truman's life expanding. Truman's life growing. And you don't see it just being sort of like a cheap in a cheap ending. I don't see it as that. I see it as a finale to the Truman Show. So that's what I thought of the Truman Show. What did you think? If you liked watching it, if you were glad that I suggested it to you, tell me in the comments below. Of course, I am Rodimus2099, and I'll see you in the next video. And I hope that you enjoy this series. I'm definitely going to do it, even if you don't like it, because I'm that type of guy. Mainly because I feel that it's a fun way to talk about film that I can't usually talk about, or movies. I'll just call this Film Friday. So, come with me on another Film Friday next week where I review The Cable Guy. Cable Guy! Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll be gone. Bye.